G'day fellas, and welcome to a casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today we are on Gorge. You guys know I love this map. This is an action-packed map, and I suspect we're probably going to see a lot of action today. Of course, we've been following the Chinese closely as they are building upon this one base technology, this one base, well, I say tech, mainly because, you know, I play quite a bit of Deadlock, and everything they refer to in that game, they refer to it as tech. Like, you jump twice, and people are like, that's cool tech. It's like, man, I just pressed spacebar twice. Anyway, one base play is now what I'm calling tech. Anyway, welcome. Let's introduce our players for the day. In the south of the map, in the color green, playing as the Rus, it's Numidan. And in the north of the map, in the color red, playing as the Chinese, it's Scarlet Devil. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gorge. A pleasure to have your company, and you will notice that there is some, well, you may notice, you may not notice, there's a couple little graphical changes I've tried to make here. So if you like those, go ahead, leave a like on the video. If you don't like them, please leave a comment and let me know down below, because I'm attempting to try and optimize Age of Empires 4. From the last little update that I've given you guys was that I bought a new monitor in the last video, and well, I'm just trying to make things look as good as they can be. Now it's an OLED, so everything's coming through crystal clear for me, and I just wanted to try and make Age of Empires 4 as good as I can, because I was playing a little bit of Cyberpunk as well, and that game is insane with the graphics, and there's a bunch of different mods that you can do with reshade. I was like, well, hold on a minute, can we do that with Age of Empires 4? Not really, but anyway, I've done things like turn HDR on, or at least fake HDR, and tried to turn the sharpness up a little bit. So let me know if you notice it. If you don't notice it, no worries. Now let's get to it and talk a little bit about what we expect to see today. Already we're starting to see a second scout coming out of Numidan. It's quite a while since I've casted a Rus game. It's, geez, this civilization, it hasn't really been at the top of the ladder too much, which is kind of wild when you think about it, right? It is still, it's a civilization that has just been so good for so long, and now all of a sudden you just don't really see it, or at least I don't really see it in the games that I cherry pick out from the top level players. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what we get from Numidan today, whether we see a real shift away in strategy, but of course you guys will know the focus is going to be on Scarlet Devil. Of course, I'm excited always to see what the Chinese is up to, and you can see that there's going to be no real difference from the standard opening, which is a whole bunch of villages and no Imperial official at the moment. Golden Gate on the other side of the map coming up for Numidan, so could potentially look to go into that castle age timing. We've seen a lot of players do that with the utilization of the Golden Gate, but of course, when it comes to these sorts of, the meta at the moment at least seems to be a little bit more focused about one base, so I'd be surprised if we do see that second town center. There used to be a very popular opening that you'd go for, where you'd go for that early Golden Gate and you'd look for that second town center, but of course that has fallen off ever since they increased the cost of the town center up to 50 stone. I tell you what, I'm kind of looking forward to the next balance update that they do. I'm hoping that it's going to be a big one, but then at the end of the day, I'm thinking like, well, hold on a minute, they just did a giant pass or giant balance update with the siege, and well, I mean that's been a bit of a hit and miss one. I still don't know how I feel about that one, whether I'm happy with it or sad with it. I don't know. I guess I just haven't played enough around with it to really appreciate it. But I mean, I'd love to facilitate a chat, at least for the top level guys, just to try and understand a bit more and have a look at this. We've got a little bit of a deer push coming in from this west side by Numidan. At this stage of the game, just a passive little opening. Let's check in with Scarlet Devil and see how he's doing on that top side. Looks like there could be, what do we even got going on here? I don't see a whole lot of technology being researched. He does have Imperial officials on the way. Is that going to be, that's going to be the second one out. So he's got two. So basically, to start him off, he's quite literally just gone, I'm going to produce villagers, I'm going to age up, then I'm going to produce Imperial officials, and that's it. All of the resources is getting sunk into that. It's got quite a bit of tax that is stacked up in these buildings here, so he'll be looking to pick that up as well. The other thing to note is that Imperial officials are relatively expensive, so the resources that he's investing in Imperial officials, he could be putting it into Song Dynasty, you know, into that Barbican, get it out forward on the map, but he's opting not to do so, instead of just focusing on the economy. But speaking of economy, the Wooden Fortress is going to be coming down in the back of the base here for Numidan. Is going to be increasing his gather rate, well, not his gather rate rather, but I mean technically his gather rate, but instead of dropping off 10 resources, you'll drop off 12. It increases the amount of resources that are dropped off by each of the villagers. So a nice little boost there, and already we see he's up to 340 gold at the back Well, I was going to say at the back. Look at this. Professional scouts. It is just taking over the meta at this stage of the game. And have a look at this. A second town center coming out for Scarlet. Not what I expected to see this early on. And we haven't even seen a second or a Song Dynasty. This is somewhat similar to what we saw. I say somewhat similar because it's not 100% similar. But I remember a game that we watched with Crackety where he was playing on Himayama. And basically, he went for a 2TC opening, but just didn't go into Song Dynasty, which is kind of wild because normally with the Chinese, it's like, if I'm going 2TCs, I'm going Song Dynasty, right? I want to maximize the bonuses that I can get in the early game, but we don't see Scarlet Devil looking to do that. Picking up just enough stone now and has 41 tax in the bank there. Unfortunately, got that 1 tax left, so it means that the Imperial official is eventually going to want to come back out there. But at this stage of the game, 3 Imperial officials, so a nice focus here on the economy. And second town center about to be dropped down just before the 6-minute mark, right next to the primary one. Interesting positioning here. I'm always a little bit scared about putting this town center in front of my primary one, just because I know that if the enemy does see this, and trust me, Numidan has seen this, right? That they might shift their gears and say, okay, well, you got a second town center and it's quite close to the main one. Let's see if we can try and snipe that out. Now, for the moment, it looks like Numidan is going to be pretty focused on that economy. Obviously gone for professional scouts and looking to snipe away some of the enemy deer. We see them towards this top side of the map, but keep in mind that he could look, actually, for the moment, it's just going to be survival techniques and more scouts. So he's just really maxing. He's scout maxing at the moment. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about yet, as walls come up towards this top side, is the drink of the day, the DOTD, the DOTD. Hopefully that's not like a Department of the Department of the Defense. Anyway, what is the drink of the day? This is a first that we've actually had on the video. It is coming out right now. I'll give you a hint. It's non-alcoholic. There you go. Second hint. It's in a glass that is shaped like an alcoholic beverage. Third hint, you would pick this up from a Mexican restaurant. Oh, tell you what, I love me some Jarritos. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the guava flavor as well. I don't know why my wife just picked up a case of them. So here you go. Okay, sure, thanks. Anyway, they're delicious. They're yummy. Great to have with a burrito. I tell you what, how good are burritos, man? You know, I mentioned before that I was playing Cyberpunk, and one of the things that they've got in there is like this hilarious. What is going on down here? They've got this like, I love just like Cyberpunk and just looking at it. That was a bit awkward. But they've got like this thing where you press a button and you get a burrito delivered. And anyway, so I googled it because I'm like, that's a sick idea, man. I'd just love to be able to press a button, you know, pay $5 and get a burrito. And it's like, it's a real thing. There's it happened like, geez, almost 10 years ago. It's called Burrito Box. And I think they've got out of business now because there's not a lot on socials for them anymore. But it's a cool little idea, isn't it? That you just 3 a.m. in the morning and everything's closed. You just walk up to a vending machine, press a button, and get a burrito. It's like, I'll take that. That works well. You know what else works well? The High Trade House. Have a look at this. High Trade House coming in on the south of the map. Really nice timing here. We are really seeing a regression in the meta back towards what we kind of witnessed a couple years ago. This was really popular. We saw this with the Rus. We saw this with the Holy Roman Empire. In particular, with the Rus, they would go into horse archers after this. So the idea was simple. You go with professional scouts. You do everything that Numidan has done. And then all of a sudden, you would look to collect those deer, age up, and then just spam out horse archers. That was the idea, because horse archers are quite heavy on the food together with the wood, but you had your bonus wood gathering from your wooden fortress, and you had all of the food coming through from your deer. So it always felt really, really nice to be able to do that. Wait, are these granaries already coming down for Scarlet Devil? These are very early granaries, but I guess I can appreciate that he's going for these granaries here just simply because he's had the deer somewhat taken out, you know, from his base. This was meant to be a safe deer pack, and he delayed the walls coming up, which is, you know, to be honest, I don't think he necessarily delayed the walls, much rather just went for walls a little bit too late here and lost a huge amount of his deer. And because of that, he's now lost, you know, because he's playing the Chinese, 20% more food than what was actually in here. So the equivalent of about 2,500 food has just gotten up and gone. And so instead of going out to the berries, instead of thinking back towards these back berries, he said, you know what, I think we probably just need to do an early farm transition, and this is going to hurt him a lot. It's going to mean he can't hit Castle Age, which is going to mean all the relics are 100% going to be going over to Numidan here, which is going to put his eco in a significantly better position in the event that this game goes late. Double stables are going to be coming up, so it doesn't look like it's going to be archery ranges, at least at this stage. Second town center. Also, to look at the... Oh my god, look at the greed coming out from Numidan right now. Goes with the second monastery to guarantee those relics come in extra quick, and the second town center to guarantee that he doesn't fall too far behind on that villager count. Now, if we take a look at the Golden Gate, you can see it has done a little bit of trading for that stone. So I don't know how much he's been able to take off the stone outcropping. It looks like just 50. So he's walked out 5 bills and brought that back. Very smart move. More walls coming up on this top side, and it looks like it's just going to be quite a slow game here. Nice slow game to start us off with. Oh, you hate to see it, don't you? You guys know what I'm going to say, right? Look at this. You see how it's not in a line? Oh my lord, that gets me, dude. That gets me. It's in a line with this mill. I think that was what happened. It must have overruled the granary, but it's one of those little things where it's just like, oh man, that's good. I've deleted farms before that have done this. I've been like, no, under no circumstances will I accept this. The funny thing is, like, you can't delete them early, because if you delete them early, it's going to impact you. You can delete them at like 25 minutes, that sort of region, but these are very early farms for Scarlet. But I guess one of the other things to note is that by putting these down, you get them out of the way, because there is normally that farm transition that you're looking for around the 15 to 20 minute mark with the Chinese. The other thing is that with these farms, you've got safe villages, right? You're not out here gathering this deer. You're not out on these berries. So your villages are safe. You don't need to defend them. But have a look at this. Quite a lot of units starting to build up here for Scarlet. Upgrades also on the way through. That's going to be the last tier 1 eco upgrade. We've already got Imperial examinations for the Imperial officials. Villages continuing to come up. And the big thing now is going to be production. We've got a lot of units here. Vill count's looking good. Food transition is healthy. Now the question is, what are we going to do in regard to production? And take a look at this. Now, one thing to note is that I mentioned earlier about how one of the old strategies that we sort of did with the Rus was we'd go Castle Age after getting professional scouts and taking all the deer off the map, and then we go into Horse Archers. Now, Horse Archers don't really make a lot of sense against the Chinese because of the Zhukunu. It's an incredibly effective unit against the Horse Archer, just because the Horse Archer, high cost unit, and relatively low health, and the Zhukunu just absolutely demolishes it. So it's always great value getting those fights. And naturally, we can see that it looks like Numidan is going to be avoiding going into those Horse Archers, but we do start to see quite a bit of Knights coming out. The walls are almost completed. I think this is going to be the last segment here. And it's been a very slow start to this game. Now, there's no guarantee that this game is going to be a short game. In fact, I would say quite the opposite. It is going to be a large game. I'm just thinking to a YouTube comment I read on a video recently about somebody who's like, oh, never mind. I can't remember it, so, you know, I won't do it justice. The punchline is never as funny when you make a mistake in it, and I'm confident I wouldn't be able to complete it. So you guys will just have to imagine what I said was hilarious and enjoy that. Anyway, there we go. All right, well, let's check in with Numidan and see how he's going on this backside. Second TC has been pumping out Vills, but still we see quite a deficit between these two players. 24 Vills at the moment. Now, relics are getting picked up. He's got 3 on the way at the moment, as well as 1 already in the bank. Let's take a look at the difference between the economies for these two players. So we've got about 1,400 here, 2,200, about 2,600 coming through for Numidan at the moment. On the side of Scarlet, 1,800, 2,200, 2,600. So very, very similar economies here. I mean, really, that's kind of to be expected, right? There's a whole bunch of things that are ticking behind the scenes here for Numidan. He's got the gold trickling in from the high trade house, from the hunting cabins. He's got the free deer that are coming through, the extra gather rate on the villages from the bounty. There's a lot of things that are going on that are doing well for him here. But of course, we don't actually know what bounty he's sitting on, because despite this being 2024, about to be 2025, we still can't see the Rus bounty in caster mode. I thought, you know, we can throw that one out there as well. You know, it's always nice to just remind everybody who's watching that caster mode has been completely abandoned. I don't even know what to do at this point. To be honest, my only hope is Cow. Like, Cow, you're my only hope. For anybody who doesn't know Cow, he's like the absolute giga chad of production in streaming at the moment. He's doing God's work when it comes to that, and he's very good with that kind of stuff behind the scenes. But Have a look at this army starting to build here. Nesta Bees also getting added in. And I think this is truly where the Chinese hit their power spike. Scarlet has been quiet for these first 14 minutes. And this is just, realistically, this is the best that you can ask for as the Chinese, to be left alone to your own devices. And now, with the clock tower online, I would just hope for 100% uptime on this bad boy. Just pumping out non-stop Nesta Bees. Still an expensive unit here. But he is going to vacate the base for the moment, Jukunu. Together with the spears coming out, Nesta Bees fires off a single shot before falling back. He's got to be careful. I don't know what his deal is coming down towards this angle. I'd be much more focused on being towards the center. And he continues to rally units out towards as the crossbows start to get mixed in, and the numbers are looking very favorable at the moment for Scarlet Devil. Now working towards that enemy side of the map. He's up about 30 vils. The economy still pretty similar at this stage, and now the spears looking to try and front line here, doing a decent job. Veterancy has come through. No +2s just yet. Palace Guard as well joining in, and Numidan could be in a bit of trouble here if he doesn't respect the tempo of the Chinese, because I think this is one of the biggest things. This is a huge power spike that they've got. Look at the farming economy that you've got right now for the Chinese. It is a massive amount of food that's going to be coming through, but Numidan is matching it. And now spears make their way to protect that nest of bees. Numbers looking decent for him as he makes his way towards the front. Men-at-Arms going to start coming out here as well for Numidan. Plenty of units being rallied in. A couple of scouts on the backside as well, just to help out. Wheelbarrow coming through. Interesting upgrade for 16 minutes in. Actually, it's about that time. And now the archers. The one thing I feel like Scarlet Devil is lacking here is the siege. I feel like having a second or even a third nest of bees would have made a huge difference in this fight. And you can see that he's somewhat petering out. Not a huge difference on that military count still. The spears struggling to make a connection, and they've managed to whittle down the numbers. Have a look at this. Not a whole lot of spears on the map at the moment. Only 8. That's going to mean the nest of bees on that back line is going to get taken out. Beautiful micro by Numidan. And I think just a real critical mistake by Scarlet not to prioritize the nest of bees here. They do very effectively, especially when there's nothing that really counters them at the moment other than that cavalry getting in on top. So if you can run something like a whole bunch of spears together with 3 or 4 nest of bees, it can be difficult to stop that. But now, falling away from that central location, we start to see the kiting coming through from Scarlet Devil. A couple spears as well as the Palace Guards able to defend for the moment. Crossbow numbers are rising though, up to 10 with 6 more in queue. The economies, 32 vils now in favor of the Chinese player, which is to be expected, right? This is kind of par for the course for the Chinese. They're typically ahead on that vil count, but there are other ways the Rus can make that difference up. Just checking in with the economies once again. We're at 1,700, 3,100, 4,300 now for Numidan. So 4,300 up against the 2.1, 3.2, 4.5. So quite a bit of difference between these guys. Well, no, not really. A very small difference between these two. Just remember that the longer this game goes on, the better it gets for Numidan, because he's got those relics. He's got all 5 of them in the bank. Very happy. He'll have Tithe Barns in the Imperial Age. Sacred Sites are under his control, at least 2 of them at the moment, so that's all trickling in infinite resources to him. Doesn't take population space. And now I'm watching the baby camera. I've got a baby camera that I'm watching, and my wife is upstairs, but I think she must be doing something at the moment. I can just see my little one, my youngest one, is climbing on top of the table. He's just chilling there, just sitting on top of the table at the moment. It's like, hey bud, okay, he's hopping down. Okay, good news everybody, he's hopping down from the table. Oh gosh, it's always the way, man. You take your eyes off the kids for just like 30 seconds, and yeah, okay, there we go. All right, she's come out and she's been like, what are you doing? Get off that table. Oh gosh. Those darn kids, I tell you what, it's fun. It's fun having those little rascals around. But have a look at this. We got ourselves some mangonels coming out now. Still only 1 nest to be on the front. There is a second one here for Scarlet somewhere. The bullets fly off. Decent shot on that back line. You can see that how much they've been nerfed. Only really damaging about 4 units here. Nest of bees firing up. Will look to hit the back line. Range difference between the Mango, 8 tiles of range versus the 7.5. So almost the same range on these two. Nice little hold. Mango Dance coming in. Still staying alive at the moment. He has not opted to focus it down. And now these archers in the backside still not really taking too much damage. And there's that nest of bees shot finally coming through. You can see the damage will be done against those knobs as the crossbows together with the men-at-arms move up and look to try and take them out. Numbers starting to build up here for Numidan on the defense. A lot of these units rallying out across the map. And as a result, Scarlet Devil is behind on that military count. This is the consequence of attacking into somebody, right? The defender's advantage. Not only do you have those reinforcements that are closer to home, but it means that anything like siege, which takes a long time to travel, is going to have a better effect because it means that you've got more of them. It's basically point one. I'm reiterating point one at this stage. Over towards the east side. Let's take a little bit of a stock take here on the resource count. So we have a 4K towards the north, 4K towards the front. If you had to guess where the Great Wall Gatehouse is going to go down, you would probably say somewhere in this region here. Challenges the sacred site, also secures the gold. You could also look towards that top side here. This is actually not a bad position here. Challenges this sacred site and secures up the 2 large stone veins. Now, one thing to notice, Scarlet Devil hasn't really been that big on stone throughout this game. I think the only stone he's actually gathered up has been for that second town center. Other than that, that has been it. But we do now see the transition moving over to a lot of vills on stone. So 16 vills here. Could look to try a nice little timing here where you push. This is what you do when you hit 200 pop, which is exactly what he's about to do. So one thing to remember is that when you hit 200 population, you can't add to your military. Your military might cannot be increased. So what you can do is you can convert that into keeps. And that's what I think we're going to be seeing here. The alternative is that he's just looking to put a keep down, but judging by his positioning here and the way that he's in the middle of the map, I think he might be looking to drop a keep on the enemy side of the map. But take a look at this. Numidan's going to attempt it right here. Scarlet Devil spots it out and says, okay, you're putting up a keep. So I suspect what we're going to see here is Scarlet Devil put up his own keep, nice and defensive, and then we'll go Imperial behind that. I think that's probably the best bet. One thing to note, though, is that there's a distinct lack of gold. Obviously, there was a little bit of a raid over towards this east side. Did get shut down, at least for the moment. Might need to leave a couple spears here. Also got that gold to the top side, but other than that, really not a lot of gold. So probably want to look to secure this trading post. You can see he's already got the walls up along this line, but maybe even stone walls start to make a bit more sense here, because securing up this trade would be very, very valuable. But now, towards the south of the map, the Imperial Age is starting to come online, and look at this, within seconds of each other, clicking up. I suspect there it is, the Great Wall Gatehouse, and he's just got to put it right in the middle. Now, this is a good position because it means that you're always going to be able to get value out of it, but the bad thing is, at least in my mind, that the enemy is always going to be able to challenge this effectively. So if you put it up towards this top side, it just becomes a thorn in the side of the enemy, where if they commit like 1 or 2 trebuchets to take it out, it's very easy for you to then go take those trebuchets out. Whereas here, they're always going to have this keep. They're always going to have the ability to deny this. So it will be tough, but it looks like we might have ourselves a bit of a battle beginning to unfold in the center. Next to this sacred site, Nesta B numbers are still quite low, only 2 of them. The Mango is starting to outnumber them as well. We're seeing up to 4 Mangoes here. He's looking to push up towards the Great Wall Gatehouse here. It's almost like you've had a little bit of a trump card thrown out. The keep initially, Scarlet Devil fell back, and then the Great Wall Gatehouse, and immediately behind it, the Imperial Palace with double siege workshop. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Let's go with that. This is wonderfully positioned on the Imperial Palace. This is, hey, I'm going to be honest, Scarlet Devil looking pretty nice at this stage of the game. I like the double siege workshop, though, to be honest. Like, you got the clock tower right here, so why? Just, you know, just make clock tower units? Because we haven't had a whole lot of uptime on this clock tower, and ideally you want to try and max your uptime on it. And here's the trebuchets now coming out. So this is what I was sort of talking about before, where it's like, you can put this Great Wall Gatehouse in the middle of the map, but if you do that, it's going to be very easy for your enemy to challenge. Whereas if you put it out over towards the edge here, it makes it much harder to challenge, because these trebs have to come into this sort of demilitarized zone. Whereas here, you know, that you've basically got the safety of your keep, you've got the safety of all your army, and it's very easy to just take this out from range. Now, granted, you can just bring some vills up to repair this, but it's going to be expensive, because you're just, not only are you draining wood from those vills, but those vills are idle. So that's another big component. So upgrades are on the way through. Pyrotechnics, elite palace guards, battle hardened. On the side of Numidan, we're seeing adjustable crossbars, arguably the best technology in the game. In fact, I'm not even going to say arguably. I think this is the best technology in the game. It takes the Mangonel from being an underwhelming unit to being an overpowered behemoth. So I'm gonna posit it right now. I think this unit is one of the best, or rather this upgrade is one of the best in the game. And it's incredibly expensive, keep that in mind, but the upgrade has now come through. The extra range extra radius as well, and an extra projectile for these mangoes. You can see that now Scarlet's going to try and take these down, but look at the radius on this. Even on the melee units at the front, they do so much work. And slowly running down these mangonels. Still got all 5 of them alive. One of them on the back has got relatively low health, but Scarlet gets cleaned up completely. Look at the population difference between these two. Remember that the entire time the Great Wall Gatehouse is slowly but steadily going down. It's one of those things where, as I said before, you know, like, sure, you're getting value, you're kind of holding for the moment here, but it's one of those things where just naturally over time it is going to go down. Let's check in and see how we're doing on the south side. Numidan has transitioned pretty well with this farms. Let's take a look and see how many he's actually got at the moment. Only 29 farms. I thought it would have been more than that. But I guess his food economy, there's no odds. It's going to be 29, but then, yeah, he's making... So it'll be like 40, something in that region, because he's making a whole bunch, and they don't technically count. Meanwhile, on the side of Scarlet, we've got 68, almost 69 farms. But University has come through. Elite Army Tactics together with Ancient Techniques. So looking for a different route. Obviously, adjustable crossbars, not a relevant upgrade for him, or not even a possible upgrade for him, because he's got the Nest of Bees, a unique Mangonel replacement. And now towards the north, we can see that he's looking to try and take control. Well, not to try and take control, but try and take advantage of the gold that he's got. This is the last safe gold he's got on the side of the map, with the exception of this one to the south. The other thing to note is what he's doing right here is the right call. He wants to try and get a keep up on this gold vein. If he can secure this gold, this will be massive for him, because then he can even look to try and project that power, that strength out onto this gold vein as well. And that's going to allow him to divide the enemy, because at the moment, the enemy is very comfortable in this position. But if you can try and bring them out a little bit further, then it means that those mangonels might be ripe for a little bit of a backstab. And that's exactly what he wants to do to try and deal with these mangoes. We've talked about it before, that there's no real counter to siege when you think of hard counters, right? Like the way that the Springald or the Culverin used to counter it. I mean, technically you could say the Horsemen, but very easily they're responded to by spears. But I think one of the best ways to deal with it at the moment is just going to be trying to pull it apart. You know, bring siege over to one side of the map and then hit it from behind. All right, let me take a drink of this Harito. That's the stuff. That is the stuff. What's the best flavor of Harito? I think guava's definitely pretty good. Nothing else really comes to my mind. Maybe lime, I think is another decent one. We've got a place in Melbourne. It's called Bay City Burritos, and they do the best burritos. One of my old colleagues introduced it to me. He's like, you got to try this burrito place. And we went there, and this thing, like, you need 3 hands there's a lot of girth. Let's just put it that way, all right? There's a lot of girth. It would impress a lot of ladies. I'm gonna say that much. It is, check them out, give them a Google, have a look. They do some good burritos, we'll say that much, but have a look at this. Interesting decision. So for Scarlet, I think the best thing that he can do at this stage is keep doing what he's doing. Split. You don't want to direct fight. I don't think you can direct fight against these mangoes, but he's going to try. And the hand cannoneers together with the palace guards should be able to get through that front line. The main issue you're going to have is when these mangoes decide to turn around and hit the back line, the bodies will hit the floor. Palace guards now coming down to the bottom. He's trying to do his best to make a connection. Nice little splits coming through, but you can see the damage that gets done there. It's a lot of investment, though. You've got to remember that's a big investment in these mangonels, but the palace guard numbers are starting to look good. He's split up those troops. I don't know exactly where they've all gone. You can see there's a couple down here to the bottom, but he's managed to try and split Numidan apart and makes his way towards victory. Slowly but steadily, the troops continue to rally through. We need more production. Where's the production? How many production building? Okay, not bad, not bad. As long as there's lots of production at home, we're fine. Palace guards heading towards that south side. So I think the key right now is that he needs to try and split his opponent. Needs to just have palace guards sieging down here, palace guard, like one sieging here, trying to work underneath the town center, just taking out vills, avoiding that direct fight. I think that's the best way that he can try and win this game. But now we see the bombard comes out, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. In my mind, I was like, okay, this Great Wall Gatehouse is pointless because it's just going to get killed. But he has done well to commit to keeping this alive. 6 vills have just been repairing here for like the last 5 minutes. He's been taking that, he's been copping it on the chin, and he's been doing work. So well played to him. Palace guards do get chased down in the end. It doesn't look like there's too much of a split that goes on. Vill counts like, we haven't seen too many vills get taken out this game. So I would say from the side of Scarlet that he could definitely be doing a bit more work in that regard. All right, well, Vill's looking to drop a keep down over on this gold. He is going to be finally coming out for it. One thing to note, though, is the Rus don't really need it as much, or at least as early on, as the Chinese, whereas the Chinese quite gold heavy. You know, the reliance on hand cannoneers, a lot of siege as well, and that's, you know, that's 300 cost on the siege, not like your Mangonel, which is a lot different on the price. Not to mention the fact that you've also got the high armory, reducing the cost of your Mangos. But have a look at this. Palace Guards once again breaking through. He's looking to try and throw a keep down on this large gold vein. You can see how close this gold vein is to his home, yet still he feels the need to throw the keep down because he knows the threat that he's under. And look at this. It looks like Scarlet might be changing up the direction that he goes, instead looking to put his own keep down over here. I actually thought that, I knew that about this one, but I didn't realize that second keep was going to be Scarlet's. Scarlet doing a great job of taking control of the map, and it's starting to look up for Scarlet right now in this game. Despite the score being a little bit higher for Numidan, the position arguably is, well, not even arguably, objectively is better here for Scarlet. Meanwhile, towards the middle, Vils have somewhat abandoned this position now. We're right on board with Scarlet as we watch, wait, and see the position, the play style. Vil count 121, maxed out, 200 for both of them. Now looking to steal away the gold from the enemy. No Imperial officials brought up just yet. Doing a good job here. And remember what I said a bit earlier about splitting the opponent. We want to try and have more Palace Guards on this side so that when the Mangonels do eventually get brought out, you can kind of ram them in from both sides. And now Spears, this is, I don't think this is a wise decision. He probably needs to fall back away from this. You don't want to take this fight at all. It's a bad fight. It's a head-on fight. This is what he needs to avoid right now. Mango's going to get great value in this fight as they take down the back line. We'll be able to refocus towards the front. Keep in mind, they do huge damage, but you can see that they're looking just to try and find those hand cannoneers. Hand cannoneer numbers still quite strong. Crossbowmen, a lot of reinforcements going to be coming in here as well. Numidan at 194, 170 for Scarlet, as on that backside the siege does go down. But keep in mind, these Mangonels still in the pocket right now. To be honest, this is just a thrown away army. That's the only real way I can see it. He's just thrown this army away, loses out on one Mango, but he's still got 4 standing. I think that's a huge throw from Scarlet. Massive throw from Scarlet. All he needed to do in that position is like come back, chill out up here, send a couple Palace Guards down this way, towards here, you know, start splitting over on this side. It's painful because it is a, you know, I think he's in a really good position. And have a look at this nice little cheeky keep from Numidan on this north side. Only 1,200 left in it, but I'd be more concerned about this being a proxy base more than anything, you know, with a stable or two coming up here, and then you've got to deal with that coming into the economy. So looking to try and secure this is going to be really important here for Scarlet. But now upgrades on the way through. We can see elite, or rather biology together with veterancy on the horsemen. A lot of resources in the bank with regard to food, so he wants to try and find other avenues to be able to spend that food that aren't reliant on gold. So wood is going to be that obvious choice for him. Still got plenty of Vils out here on the map gathering up this gold. You can see 3,500 still left in it. You can hear the trebs firing off, and this is what I was talking about. Now these trebs are somewhat exposed towards this side, so even just like 2 or 3 Palace Guards should be able to clean it up. Nice little cleanup now. No boiling oil in just yet. You can see he's got about a minute before it comes through, but he should be able to siege it down. Shuts this down completely. But if anything, this has been great for Numidan. This is a great thing for Numidan because now it's brought back that army over towards your enemy side and gives you an opportunity to re-establish oneself and to try and shut down these little edge cases. You can see he's actually working, so still rather working down the keep over towards this west side. But now Men-at-Arms going to look to try and come up the inside. The Great Wall Gatehouse did go down. I suspect those villagers that were moving towards the gold vein were probably those same vills that were actually taking out the Great Wall Gatehouse. Hey, mate, is it dinner time, is it? You come over here. You tell everybody here it's dinner time. You say, Daddy, dinner time.
Dinner time.
Oh, it's dinner time, guys. Well, that's all right. Don't worry, mate. I'll be out for dinner soon. Thank you very much. Can you close my door, please? Can you wonderful. Oh, you're such a good boy. There he is, the little rascal. It's dinner time, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as the keep goes down, I'm not the only one who's hungry because Numidan has decided to pillage the farms of his opponent. Scarlet is in trouble. Keep in mind, the wall has gone down and he's looking to come out on all angles as the men-at-arms make their way through. A distinct lack of stone walls is going to be able to protect, or not going to be able to protect these farmers for long. Meanwhile, towards the south, horseman numbers are rising. You can feel that Scarlet Devil is focusing a little bit more on the military side of things now. Looking to come out. This is definitely a good spot. Exactly what we were talking about with picking up those mangonels in the crossfire. Decent shots come down. Horsemen from the top side should be able to clean out the majority of the siege. Not a lot to protect it here. Exactly how you want to tackle the siege in 2024, at least in this season. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, we're losing villages rapidly. 45 taken out so far. That number continues to increase as it rises up to 46, 47 now. Meanwhile, on this front, we've got a large army coming through. Not a lot of siege, though, so it's not going to take these buildings down quickly. We need rams, we need bombards, we need something to try and get those units or get those buildings taken out. But now moving inside the base, Scarlet looking to try and take out these troops. A lot of Streltsy in. How many Streltsy are we working with? 7 Streltsy at the moment. More Mangoes coming out. And towards this backside, the men-at-arms have just run out of vills to kill. They've killed 60 vills. Scarlet down to 89 vills. Still a recoverable amount of vills, but ideally you'll probably want to drop another town center after losing that many. You can definitely afford it. 2k stone in the bank. Forced away the Mangoes together with the Streltsy and Spears. Going to be more than enough to keep him at a decent distance. Plenty of gold still available on this side of the map. But where did it all go wrong for Scarlet? I think it was this fight down here. When he lost this fight, he lost the advantage. He lost control. And it meant that Numidan was able to send troops in towards his opponent's base. And it felt like Scarlet didn't really have a response to that because all the troops had been taken out, were trying to re-establish on the other side of the map. And I think that was probably the most pivotal moment here for him. But now, at this stage of the game, it's definitely fallen away from him. Numidan continues to prosper. Despite having no stone walls himself, obviously not being able to create any stone walls because he is the Rus and he hasn't gone into that tech avenue. But on the north side, we don't see any stone walls coming up either. Just by the same way that palisade walls work well in the early game, the stone walls obviously delay those late game raids as well. Now horsemen coming out for Numidan, looking to chase away these units on the front line. A whole bunch of stables coming up on the front. Still yet to clean everything up, down to 66 vills. That's a huge amount of losses. That's a crazy amount of losses. You know, the wild part is, just like 5 or 6 hand cannoneers back here would have shut this down completely. Because the men-at-arms aren't going to go after them. They're going to go after the vills. They always do, and you're going to kite. Like 5 or 6 would have shut that down. I wonder why Scarlet didn't look to that. Was it that he didn't see the raid coming? Surely he would have seen it. It was almost like he just didn't react. Like, he just kind of leaves the Vill there and just lets it get attacked. We do see a bit of movement now, though. He's going to look to try and put a defensive keep in to keep things alive a little bit longer. Still more units continuing to come through, and now Numidan really getting one over on Scarlet 37 minutes into this game. Towards that south. Vill working down the palisade wall slowly but steadily. Only the one sacred site held for the moment. That central sacred site almost certainly not going to be taken by Numidan. But now have a look at this. As the troops come out. Plenty of units for Numidan. I can see my doors just opened again. I think somebody might be coming in for round 2. Come on in, mate. Hello. He's crawling in. He doesn't. He doesn't. He can walk, but he's crawling at the moment. Come watch. Come watch. You look at all the horses. There's lots of horses, mate. And look at that. We got UFOs as well. Look at that. The UFO, buddy. All right. Well, at this stage of the game, Scarlet has re-established himself. 130 military pop. Somehow, some way, he's looking to try and finish this game with a big bang. You can see not a lot of resources in the bank. Not a huge economy. In fact, when it comes to... What's that, mate? What did you want to say? All right, and he's off. The microphone scares him. He's a bit shy. He knows what the microphone does, so he is a bit shy. All right, well, the troop numbers are starting to look a lot better for Scarlet, and this is where it starts to get scary, because we've hit critical mass, 2-1. And of course, I don't have to remind you about Lanchester Square. You guys well and truly are versed in it at this stage, but the bigger the army, the harder they fall, I guess you could go with, but the harder they kill. Nice little pocket that we've got down here for Numidan. Keep in mind that he's got plenty of production facilities looking to reinforce this position. So even in the event that he's losing out on those troops, it's still not this bad. It will slowly make its way back towards that mean. And now, Streltsy Spears looking to try and clog up these little laneways like cholesterol clogs up an artillery or an artery. Cannons on the top side, looking to try and focus down the siege on the back, not able to really find a connection as the Mangoes do a decent job here. Meanwhile, Scarlet Devil down to 150 population, Numidan 200 still maxed out, and you can see, look how quickly it swung back in favor of Numidan. That is the power right there of being on the defense. We have seen today, time and time again, the power of being on the defense and how well Numidan has played from the pocket. But Scarlet Devil, with only 74 vils and an absolutely terrible economy here, sits on 130 population and says to himself, I don't know where we go from here. The raids have been non-stop over these last 5 minutes. He's losing out over on this west side. He does have the cannon in placement. That's one thing to help him out. But for the moment, Numidan has done well to keep his back against that wall and really push off with a lot of strength. Look at the amount of siege workshops he's got down here around the High Armory. And he's actually moving into Wandering Town right now. Okay, I'll take it. Honestly, it's a scary tech, because you just start putting a siege workshop here and a siege workshop over here, and you just start wandering your battering rams around the enemy town, as the name goes. Keep over on the edge of the map. What's he looking to do with this keep? I guess establish sacred site control and also deny the trade post, potentially? Maybe that's what he's thinking. But, I mean, he's got map control, so he doesn't really need to deny it. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be it. Numidan taking the victory there with a beautiful defensive game. He was on the defense for pretty much all of this game and somehow managed to keep that back straight up against that wall and pulls it out. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if there's any criticism, leave it down in the comments.